Hey, guess what? It's Saturday at 6 p.m., and we've got another edition of the Screen Team for you today. It's all brought to you by Poplar, Bluff Drywall, Whitworth Gift Chest Jewelers, and also Fearless Social. Being joined by my good friend and yours, Mr. Kyle. Kyle, how are you today, sir?
Mr. Chris, I am fantastic. How about yourself?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to see you, and I want to let the folks know that what we're doing today is we're doing reviews of sports documentaries, most notably the ones that ESPN put on with their 30 for 30 series.
Correct.
We did a show like this like 6 months back, and we're doing another one. And why don't you go ahead and name off the three particular documentaries we're doing today?
Well, the one we're going to start off with is called Of Miracles in Men, which is going to tell the story of the classic Miracle on Ice game from the 1980 Olympics. However, from the untold side of the Soviet Union.
Oh, that's interesting.
We're also going to discuss the documentary You Don't Know Bo, of probably the greatest two-sport athletes to ever walk the planet, Bo Jackson.
And, of course, the U Part 2.
Boy, you're in for a treat with this one.
It's going to be a good show. Looking forward to it. Our first one, it's a very interesting concept, and it's one that you don't really think about exploring. I mean, the Miracle on Ice is such a cool story, especially from the American side of things. You know, it's probably one of the biggest upsets ever and one of the coolest stories ever, but that's from the American side of things. This documentary deals with the Russian side of things.
Yes.
Right?
Now, for those of you who are not aware, who may be younger than myself, the Miracle on Ice is the biggest upset in the history of amateur or professional sports. The 1980 Winter Olympics, the United States defeat the Soviet Union 3-2 in hockey to go to the gold medal game. Most people forget that.
Yeah, like every time I watch it, I'm like, that's the gold medal game, but it wasn't.
No, it was the go to the gold medal game, and we wound up defeating Finland to win the gold. However, the story is always told of the ragtag group of college hockey players, guys with no professional experience, beating this almighty Soviet machine who 10 days prior to had destroyed the United States and a year before had beaten the NHL's All-Stars at Madison Square Garden.
So these guys were a big deal. They were like the 27 Yankees.
They were Murderers Row, and if you for a movie analogy, they were basically 23 Terminators created by Skynet. They were from the American viewpoint, it would seem like they were a soulless group of guys who were just so efficient they just wiped through the competition without showing any emotion. But if you watch this, you'll realize to them it wasn't just a game, it was a job. They were coming in here to destroy everybody, not bat an eye, and move on to the next one. That's how it was. The shock nationwide was incredible that this hockey team, assembled of the greatest talent of the Soviet Union, which at the time was the most talented group of players in the world, lost to a team that didn't have a player play one professional hockey game.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, does this documentary focus on the period of time during the Olympics or what happened afterwards?
Before, during, and after. They talk about the creation of the Soviet Union hockey team and the man behind it, whose name escapes me right now, unfortunately, and you can catch that in the piece. However, he puts together the program that would basically churn out these players like they were mass-produced.
Yeah.
And it was year in, year out, destroying teams in an international competition. And it wasn't just, oh, my goodness, we won. Oh, we won. On to the next one. Wasn't even a big deal. But by the time 1980 rolled around and they lost this game, like what on earth? Now, what happens afterwards, they will tell the story of some of the players' desires to play professionally here in America in the National Hockey League. And due to transfer laws, which are still not as tight now as they used to be, they were not allowed to go play in the NHL at all.
So what happened to these guys once they lost the game to the U.S.? Were they shunned by their Russian counterparts back home?
A lot. Most of them were not received very well when they returned home, but for the most part, there was really nothing else they could do. They just had to continue to keep playing to regain the trust of their comrades, if you will, that we are still the cream of the crop. So they would continue to play internationally, and Russia historically has still done very well. However, one of the main players chronicled, his name is Slava Fetisov. He would have become the first Soviet player to escape from the Iron Curtain to play in the National Hockey League. But it took him 9 years to get there.
Wow.
He was 31 by the time he debuted in the National Hockey League in 1989 for New Jersey. Mm-hmm. He would win 2 Stanley Cups with Detroit, so he was really the first player from Russia to see substantial success in the NHL, but he didn't play past 1998. After that, he retired due to age. But it also tells how hard it is for these guys to get out from up underneath the rules that they have there. It's insane. And now some players still have to serve a 1-year mandatory term in their military before they go play professionally.
Oh, wow.
A little ridiculous, if you ask me. But I think it's a fantastic piece because the American story, it's like Cinderella, the glass slipper fits and all that. But how about from the other side?
Yeah.
These guys, and they were good, honest men, but they were just pushed along an assembly line of hockey players thrown into that red uniform and say, hey, go win. Yeah. That's all it was for decades on end. And this started in about the 50s and continued on. Things have loosened up now. There are a lot more Russian players. The St. Louis Blues have a very prominent Russian player. Alex Ovechkin, who's probably the best goal scorer in hockey. He's Russian. He's been in the league for this will be his 10th year coming up.
He just can't win a Stanley Cup.
No, he seems to have that issue. But when you look back at the first flood of Russian players to make it to the league, Fetisov came over and signed as a unrestricted free agent, basically. The first Russian player was not drafted until 1992. And that was Alex Kovalev, who was drafted by the New York Rangers. He also is the first Russian to win the Stanley Cup. He was part of that 94 Rangers team.
Was Fedorov, was he Russian?
Yes. He came over.
Fedorov, man.
Yeah, he unreal. And I have to give him that respect. Not a Red Wings fan by any stretch,
right.
But
he was special.
He was a tremendous hockey player. The Detroit Red Wings were a team that made the biggest use of Russian players on their team. They had a group called the Russian Five, which consisted of Sergei Fedorov, Igor Larionov, who also played for the Soviet teams of the late 80s, Fetisov. You also had Vladimir Konstantinov, who was a tremendous defenseman. His career was ended in a car crash after the 97 finals. And you also, there's another player whose name escapes me, but those are the 4 prominent ones. Yeah. Detroit was great at developing Russian players. Pavel Datsyuk will be another one for them. He's been with them for well over a decade now. It's a very fascinating piece because Russian players are known to be some of the most skilled and talented in the entire world. It's been that way for a lot of years. And now you basically get to see the foundation of how it all started.
You know who one of the best Russian players is?
Who's that?
Vladimir Putin.
8 goals?
I don't know if you saw this, but like a couple months back, he was playing in an exhibition game, and I guess no one was playing defense or they had no goalie, and he scored like 8 goals or something. I
saw that. I'm like, wait, who let him on an ice sheet? I know you're kind of a big deal, but, man, this isn't an old-timers game,
yeah, no kidding.
But it's an outstanding piece, man, and I highly recommend it to anybody who, not just so much as a hockey fan, but if you like a good, lengthy documentary with a lot of substance to it, recommend it highly.
All right, there you go. Coming up after the break, we're going to review the sequel to The U, all about the University of Miami football program. That's next on Today's Talk, 930 KWOC.